Welcome back. In the backdrop of the killing of Indian soldiers recently by the Chinese troops, there has been a great amount of distress in India, and there has been a tremendous call for boycott of Chinese goods. The Indian government has tried to respond to its border dispute by training the guns now on trade. One of the railway contracts handed over to the Chinese firms has been cancelled just yesterday. Visuals of Indians breaking and burning their fully functional Chinese appliances such as televisions have been doing their rounds in social media. Union Minister Ramdas Athawale has even demanded a ban on restaurants selling Chinese food, even though they are fully Indian restaurants employing Indian chefs and using largely Indian agricultural produce, and maybe they are making things which are more Indian than Chinese, for example gobi Manchurian or Chinese bhel. So there has been a clamor to ban anything which is Chinese. Oh God, I think they should at least say the Chinese bhel for me. Jokes apart, one needs to understand that trade deficits are not necessarily bad. One of the main reasons why banning trade has been the first reaction is the notion that having a trade deficit there's a common sense feeling that is somewhat of a bad thing. Well, just because you have a trade deficit with one country does not mean necessarily that the economy of that particular country is much better. For example, India has a trade deficit with other 22 countries as well, including China, regardless, of course, of their size and geographic location. This includes France, Germany, Nigeria, Qatar, South Korea, Japan, Vietnam, Indonesia, South Africa, UAE, and Russia. Now, a trade deficit does not necessarily mean that the Indian economy is worse off than South Africa's economy. A trade deficit with China only means that Indians buy more of Chinese produce than what Chinese buy from India. It just means that the Indian consumers who made these purchases have decisions which they made voluntarily just because they find better value in the Chinese goods. Now, to say that today is taboo, it is not appropriate in the political context. And don't forget, political context is very important in today's world. So I should really not be saying so, but I am just doing a very critical evaluation, as I always do. Does a country having the foreign exchange reserves to buy the imports? India has more than $500 billion of forex, good enough to cover its imports for the next 12 months today. India is what is the trade deficit is only showing that India is not capable of producing the same things in the same manner and in the same efficiency for its Indian consumers. So if you boycott Chinese goods, emotions apart, what it means that the poor of the poorest who are buying those cheap smartphones, they will be forced to buy the more expensive phones from Japan and other countries. Now today, out of emotion, they do say that they are ready to do that, and makes sense. I would do that. But in another way, if you look at it, I do that because I can afford it. But can everybody afford it? It's a difficult thing. The poor of the poorest, the middle class, can they really afford? It is going to be a big pinch. Smartphones have been very heavily dominated anyway by the Chinese. And you have the Xiaomi, the Vivo, the Oppo. By the way, even our dear Indian cricketers, right, who are seen very often eating chole bhature on the television screen these days with their wives and girlfriends. They also, if you watch their jersey shirts, you will find that even they relish wearing Oppo, Vivo, right, on their shirts. So even they have been sponsored by the Chinese. Sponsored by the Chinese are various Paytms, Swiggy, the Zomatos. So all these various startups, all the food that you eat and all sponsored by Chinese. So if you have to forego the Chinese goods, you have to forego all the nice things that Zomato and Swiggy bring to your home. Of course, in emotional ways, you'll say, I'll go hungry. Past presidents have said this does not last long though. You may call me a traitor, but I am not. I am one of the most patriotic people. Remember my video when I mentioned that lives lost of soldiers is worth more than the billions of dollars, the $37 billion, $1 trillion that is the value of the goods from China that enter into India. Secondly, banning the Chinese goods will not harm Chinese as much, because hardly 2 to 3% of the Chinese exports comes to India, which is really not, there's nothing much for them, right? And if you look at it from the Indian point of view, China accounts for 5% of India's exports and 14% of India's imports. So that's quite a bit. That means they have to cover it up from somewhere else, which is not going to be very easy. And another thing that comes to my mind is that this will impact the poor, or the poorest of the poor the most. If Chinese air conditioners were replaced by costlier Japanese air conditioners or less efficient Indian ones, then, as I explained, the richer Indians can still survive the ban by buying a costlier option. But a number of poor who could have otherwise afforded an AC would either have to forego buying one, right, because it is too costly to buy a Japanese or an European counterpart, or suffer as a consumer by buying less efficient Indian air conditioners. Similarly, the Chinese products that are in India are already paid for. By banning their sale or avoiding them, the Indians would be hurting the fellow Indian retailers. Okay. Again, this would hit proportionately more on the poor as retailers because of the relative inability to cope with the unexpected loss. Okay. So those people, retailers who are there, they have already bought, they have already stocked their shelves. So if you say ban Chinese, then what are they going to do with all those products? Lord Ganesha's being made in China. The Lakshmi silver coins which is used during Diwali, they are being manufactured in China. Important markets, Tilaknagar in Delhi, the shopkeepers were interviewed that all these Lakshmis and Ganeshas in your shops, where do they come from? They are saying, sir, it is completely Indian. In 2 days, everything is turned Indian. Even the nails, the entire Fevicol, the products which are used in that all come from China. That they admit. But their products are all are made in China. Lord Ganesha manufactured in China. Lakshmi Devi silver coins all manufactured in China. So now next Diwali, where do you get all these things from? Okay. By the way, in the state of Maharashtra, you have Lord Ganesha exclusively made by the artisans in Maharashtra. Those who are residents of Maharashtra, they would be aware that during the Ganpati festival, the Lord Ganesha is truly made in Maharashtra. So that much I can vouch that does not come from China. But other than that, all the gods, goddesses, they are factories. Lord Ganesha factory in China, right? So it's not an easy proposition to ban. And yes, at the same time, I believe that India needs to give a hard message to China. There are emotions which are important, and this will amount to a multi-pronged approach. You find that there are so many television channels which are now trying to show to the world that buy Chinese is a wrong thing to do, and that banning of Chinese goods, they created shows, great TRP ratings, but then you see at the top that this program is powered by Vivo or by Oppo, all Chinese goods, right? So the program is of banning Chinese goods, but it has been powered by Vivo and Oppo. Indian cricketers are up in arms that against China. Anyway, China does not play cricket, so it's very easy to say, right? ban Chinese goods is easy. It's also good to get a little public attention and to build little more credibility. It's easy to do that. So after you're finished having a chole bhature with your wife or your girlfriend, you come on television and say banning Chinese goods is great. But sir, we saw you just the other day wearing an Oppo shirt, Vivo shirt, Chinese smartphones you are using. You ask them to dig in their pocket and what comes out is an MI. Long live Xiaomi. Companies are debt free now, but even the products that they are selling in the telecom world are all manufactured in China. Xiaomi, everywhere. I don't have to tell you the name. So it's not so simple. At the same time, I think definitely the time has come to act a little tough with China. Not little, very tough. The welcomes that we give to the Chinese premier not necessary anymore. I think this is the violation of India's territorial sovereignty. Is a very, very sad sign, and India should reclaim that land back. And I hope there is not more that turns out to be escalation, but my heart feels that there is more yet to come as far as confrontation with China is concerned. Indian government needs to have a very, very tough approach. I would really be very pleased if the Prime Minister comes on national television and Doordarshan and explains his stand. It is extremely critical. This is a very difficult decision, but he needs to come. The economic realities apart, yes, there has to be, this will require a staggered approach. Slowly and slowly, Atmanirbhar Bharat, as the Prime Minister, a respected Prime Minister likes to call it, is definitely the right way to do it. I definitely applaud his noble intentions. I've always felt he is a person with great noble intentions, and we are very fortunate to have him as a Prime Minister. And I hope that this Atmanirbharta that the Prime Minister Modi is talking does come to stay, but let's not get emotional. This will not happen overnight. This will take some time. It is good for India to be Atmanirbhar, but this will take months and years. But yes, the writing is on the wall, and India should definitely start it today. So this is my opinion that yes, a start has to be done. This is time, but don't do it in a jerk. Don't do it impulsively. But yes, start getting Atmanirbhar. India is spending too much money on imports from China. Definitely, even emotionally, please do not get Lord Ganesha manufactured in China, right? Lakshmi Devi is definitely very much more Indian at heart. I think it would be nice if we buy some coins manufactured in India of Lakshmi Devi during Diwali Puja to reverence to all the gods and also to the countrymen of India. My salute to all the Indian soldiers. My condolences to the families of the people who lost their lives. And definitely look forward to see a more Atmanirbhar Bharat from here on. Take care. Bye-bye.